We have a change up for the last story, and that is we've had a lot of stories about life experiences, and Tracy Mobley Martinez is going to tell us about death. Actually, it's a ghost story. It's a true ghost story. I'm basically ruining your entire story for you. Actually, she's told it to me, so let me start.
Thanks, Warren.
No problem.
How are you guys doing? Ready for one more story? Okay, so my story starts 10 years ago. I was living in Albuquerque then. I was writing for the afternoon daily. I had just met the man who was going to be my husband, Bill Crane, that right there. You don't know how much he deserves. But he was living in Atlanta at the time, and I was, of course, in Albuquerque, and so he would come out periodically for these frantic little weeks of trying to get to know one another and pretend that we were actually living in the same town. And it was lovely. It was also October, and we were going to Cimarron, New Mexico. We were going there because I had pitched a story to do a Halloween piece about staying in the most haunted hotel in New Mexico. And it's called the St. James. It was built in 1876 by a guy named Henri Lambert. He had actually been the personal chef to Abraham Lincoln. And he came out to the West to find gold. Didn't find gold, so he built a hotel. And it was really the Wild West at that point. He, in fact, had all the greatest hits of Western icons stay there. Jesse James, Wyatt Earp, all the big guys. Annie Oakley, Buffalo Bill had also stayed there. So, and apparently some decided to hang out. It was reputed that there were many, many ghosts that were that lived in the hotel, which is why I wanted to come and spend the night. So we drive into town, get to the hotel, and it feels very much like Cimarron has not changed one iota since 1876. It's really more of a village than it is a town, and the biggest building in the entire area is the St. James. It's Victorian, and there's something about this hotel. I stood in the parking lot as Bill was unloading the baggage, and I'm looking at the hotel, and it feels stern in a strange way. And if any building could have something behind its back, it was this building. We go inside, and the lobby really doesn't feel a whole lot different. Bill's checking in, and I'm standing sort of looking around, and creepy element number one, it's Victorian. I hate Victorian. It freaks me out. So it's wood everywhere, and thick carpet, and beams on the ceiling, and wallpaper that is deeply saturated and looks like it is undulating as you look at it. So creepy point number two, I'm standing there, and I have the distinct feeling that I'm being watched. Well, I was. All over the walls are animal heads. There's buffalo and elk and rabbit, if you can believe it, and fox. It felt like just about every kind of creature God put on the earth was up on that wall, and their beady little glass eyes were staring me down. Creepy point number three, in the middle of the room was a Victorian couch, no big surprise there. And there were two ladies that were sitting on the couch. They were looking at a television that was playing a loop about the St. James and how creepy it was. Just in case you'd missed that with the animals and everything. So they're sitting there, and they look a lot alike. They both have short white hair. They look like the kind of people that still get their hair done every week. And they have matching sweatshirts on with very unfortunate looking poodles painted on them. And, it shouldn't have, but somehow it freaked me out even more. It reminded me of the Diane Arbus twins, and even scarier than before. I took a breath, and we go upstairs. Now, I had rented Mary's room, which was supposedly the most haunted room in the house. Well, actually, there was another room that was more haunted, but they wouldn't let anybody stay in this room. J.T. Wright had supposedly died in there. He was a gunslinger and a gambler, and apparently a little shady on a deal and got shot and died there. So we're going down the hallway, and Bill's on ahead of me towards going to the room, and room 18 is right there, so I stop. And I'm like peering over the transom, trying to see, maybe there's lights or something cool. No lights, no faces, no nothing. I don't see anything, except on the front of the door is a huge padlock. Like, there should be lights over it, arrows saying padlock, padlock, padlock. And, okay, happily I'm not staying there, and the other rooms don't have them, so I was good. The room, Mary's room, actually was very banal. There really wasn't anything particularly scary about it. There was a 4-poster bed and a couple of nightstands. There was a little attached bathroom and some really beautiful big windows. Now, the reading I had done said that Mary did not like the windows down at night. And so if you have the windows down at night, she will knock on the windows or will shake the windows. And it probably came of living a good portion of her life in that room. She'd been ill most of her life. And apparently Henri was busy building an empire and didn't have time for her. So we're in the room, I'm unpacking, Bill is in the bathroom, and I hear him call to me. And I said, yeah. Is the tap supposed to red on red?
Oh. Yeah, right.
Yeah, just joking. Yeah, it was one of many jokes that I got to enjoy or endure, depending on how you look at it, during the course of this trip. Because Bill is not a believer. Bill is a man who believes in figures and plus signs and things that you can line up and make them look straight. In all ways except for love. So, he was along for the ride mostly. So it was about 5, we decided to go get dinner, and it was the worst dinner that we have ever had in our entire life. Do not go to Cimarron for the food, let me tell you. It was bad. So we leave and decide to walk over to the cemetery. It was a gorgeous night, it was still light out, and the sky was this great hard blue that New Mexico skies get, sort of like Jolly Ranchers. And the trees looked like they had been lit on fire because of all the orange and the yellow and the red in the trees. It was really picturesque. And I pulled on my denim jacket, the one I've got on actually, because the wind was picking up and you begin to feel the fall in the air. We found Henri's grave pretty quickly, actually. It was in the most populated area. He was buried with his second wife and his 2 children. But Mary's was a little harder to find. After some searching, we found her on the other side of the cemetery, behind a little wrought iron fence with a tiny little gravestone. I just felt sad for her. In life, she's sort of ostracized, and in death, she's off on her own, nobody to tend her grave or even to be lying next to. Back in the room, I get out my tools. I'm a professional journalist. I know what I'm doing. I brought a crystal ball. Yeah. And I also brought a Ouija board that I had bought specifically on purpose because my first Ouija board was missing. So it was a normal sized box. You take it out, but it's like this big. I mean, it's tiny. I guess travel size Ouija board. So we sit on the middle of the bed, cross-legged next. We got the board between us. It's very, very awkward. We put our hands on the planchette and we wait. Nothing. So I say very grandiosely, "Is there anyone in the room who'd like to speak to us?" Nothing. And we look at each other, and then the planchette starts moving. And of course, we're surveying whether the other one is pushing, and we decide that that's not the case. So I ask what the name of the person is. And it goes around and starts spelling something, and then it stops. And the name, you may be familiar with it, It's real sad. We spent 2 hours getting quality information like that over and over again. I kept in the next one and get something good. So JT didn't show up, Mary didn't show up, as far as we know, unless they're really bad spellers. So we went to bed. I went to sleep pretty quickly, and I had a dream. Now, I have very vivid dreams, but this was an especially vivid dream. It felt real. First of all, because it was taking place in the room. I was in bed in the dream, and Bill was next to me. But there was somebody else in the room with us. And this thing, I don't know if it was a ghost or an entity, but it was standing beside my bed, the bed, and a little bit behind me. And I couldn't move. And, you know, I think back, I'm like, oh, I'm not scared, but I was scared, actually. I was trying to say something to Bill. I was trying to wake him up. And then the entity, whatever it is, put its hand on my head, and it sent this electrical charge through my body, all the way down to my toes. And it was like a lightning bolt. I mean, it was very intense, and man, it hurt. I'm laying there trying to do something. I'm shaking in the bed. Bill's not waking up. Big surprise. No, it was a dream. So it goes on for a while. Seems like forever, and then I wake up. And Bill's there. Everything in the room is correct. There's no entity beside my bed. Sweet. So I go back to sleep. And I have that same dream 2 more times. Yeah, that's the way I felt. So the next morning, I tell Bill about the dream, as I do many mornings. And Bill's response was what he usually does, which is he nods, and he doesn't say a word. He's not going to support my delirium, apparently. So we go off, Bill does his thing, and then I go downstairs to interview the owner, who's also the chef. And he told me stories about the hotel. He does not like to stay in the hotel because he had experiences where something would suddenly pull the sheets off the bed. He'd also heard voices that shouldn't have been there, knives flying across the kitchen. And I believed him, you know. The way he told me, it didn't seem like he was making it up. I mean, he really seemed sort of tense as he's telling these stories. So I asked him about JT's room. Yeah, okay, it's marketing. So there was no ghost in JT's room, no violent haunting up there. He just had the lockout so that people would see it and would get all scared and would think about, what they could have experienced. So we go up to look at the room, and it's very bland. There's just a bed and then a nightstand and a dresser. But what was really interesting was on the dresser were these notes that people had thrown over the transom to JT. Asking him mostly to come down to their room to visit. Yeah. There was also a wallet on the dresser, and it was empty except for $1. And when we were walking away, I couldn't help but think that somebody was trying to help settle his debt, so that maybe he could move on. So Bill's packed up the car. He's ready to go to the next stop. I circled back to the desk to pick up a couple letters that people had written about their experiences, and we're in the car and we're driving off. And the first letter is from a gentleman who'd been there with his grandson, and they'd seen the archetypal ghost sighting, a lady in white. And I thought, okay, this is good. Nothing's happened, so this will be something good for my story. I look at the second letter, and it's from a lady in Chicago who had actually stayed in Mary's room, and she had had a dream. And in the dream, there's something beside the bed, and she can't move, and she can't scream, and it sends this electrical charge through her body. She knows, like I knew, that the thing wasn't trying to hurt her. It was just trying to communicate. She wakes up, and she has to dream 2 more times. It was, it just sent some chill down her back. It was, I was whooping in the car. I was so excited. Not only did I have something to write about, but this thing had happened. This entirely validatable thing that that I had actually experienced something. So I made Bill pull over and I read him the thing and he's, quiet. And I say, so, what do you think of this? How do you explain this? And Bill didn't say anything. And then Bill shook his head and he said, I don't know, I can't. And it was a great moment. It's not flattering, but it really was a great moment because he gave me crap the entire time in a lovely way, but still he didn't like it at all. So it was something in his life that he couldn't put in a box, that he couldn't line up. And even beyond the mini triumph that I had, it was so intimate and so human, and it was the beginning of, a real